Hello. Right, it's saying there's yellow stream health again, so I don't know if it's going to be a problem for anybody or if it's at YouTube's end. The settings are on the usual settings, so no idea. So I thought for this stream I'd wear a riot helmet, because at least with a riot helmet on compared to a gas mask I can at least drink coffee. So there's always that. Ah, cool, well at least you got a notification, which means it sent them out. Alright, Mike? What's a tear strategy? Not much going to be doing the stream. Wow, a riot helmet doesn't protect you from tear gas. You need a gas mask on for that. Right, so if everybody wants to make comments, make comments. Obviously, as I said, abide by the political rules and everything else. I think this is about £30. I can check for you how much they currently cost on the UK eBay. I still need to mod this and make it slightly smaller on the inside. Most of these are with free postage, £16, £21 sort of price. So yeah, for less than £25 you can get one. Alright, cool, Mike. I'll check that out when I finish the stream. Yeah, they're not too much at all. Yeah, I mean, it might depend on the condition, because sometimes it says like it's a grade B condition, you have to pay a bit more for grade A, but yeah. I thought they were normally around £30, but it seems a lot of them are like less than 25 now. These type of helmets, the Mark III ones, are probably the best. However, the only issue is I found with this is the liner inside is definitely not the size it claims to be. So I've had to get a sander and just keep sanding the inside, and I need to sand it down just a little bit more, and then I think it'd be very comfortable. But, you know, I measured my head, and the size that was meant to be for my head ended up being, like, way too small. This one also has quite a low visor, which is good because it means it protects your neck when your head's like this, because obviously that's going to block blows coming actually into your neck, because the visor is lower than the actual neck itself. Well, it depends what kind of situation you think you're going to be involved in. If it's projectiles being thrown at you, as in rocks, bricks, fluids and things like that, a riot helmet is a lot better. If it's a situation where you're potentially getting shot out, you want a ballistic helmet. I mean, the best case scenario, I guess, is where you get a ballistic helmet that has a riot visor attachment on it, because then you've got the face protection combined with a helmet that would actually stop pistol rounds and stuff like that. But I think the visors on these are meant to be able to stand up to at least birdshot at a distance, so they're not completely useless. It would stop air rifle pellets as well, because I've tested my other riot helmet against the air rifles, and a 12 foot-pound air rifle does not stand a chance of getting through it, nor does pistol crossbow bolts. Now, you must be pretty new to these streams if you don't know that I'm always wearing some weird bit of military or police gear in all the streams. Yeah, that's polycarbonate. Makes a good noise. Yeah, thanks Peach, everybody liked the stream. So yeah. I can't remember what kind of plastic the outside's made out of. But it's like a hard impact plastic on the outside. Then it's got a impact kind of foam layer on the inside. And then obviously you've got the polycarbonate visor, and you've got like the reinforcement ridge around the outside there, similar to like what some motorcycle helmets have, or scooter helmets. Yeah, like we were saying just now in the stream, the good thing of Riot helmets is they're very cheap, it seems. You can get these between £20 and £25 now. And you can get these for, I can quickly show the inside. Yeah, it might have left some residue on my head, that's the only problem. Because where I've sanded it down, it's kind of a bit dusty. But the inside just looks like that. That's the bit I've had to sand down, that foam, just by taking a sander around the outside of it. But it's a combination of sort of that foam stuff. There's a little bit of Kevlar in the helmet as well, but that's not designed to be bullet resistant. That's just, I think, there to make the helmet structurally sound, but you can't see that unless I take the inner liner out, which I'm not going to do because it's a bit of a pain to put back in. It's fairly comfortable. I said I need to shave the inside down a bit more, but once I get the inside shaved down enough, it would be very comfortable, yeah. Essentially, it just feels like a cycle helmet or a motorcycle helmet if you've ever had any of those sort of scooter helmets on, like that. Obviously, the other good thing of Riot helmets as well is they don't really get in the way of glasses, so if I show you, I can get those on. So I could have my glasses on underneath it. Then you can put that down and it wouldn't get in the way of the glasses at all. We were saying earlier in the stream hands, these are about £20 to £25 in the UK, so similar to $25 to $30 kind of price range. It's just the police sell all their old vests and helmets on eBay after a couple of years of service because they're not allowed for like safety regulations to keep them in service longer than that. That's interesting, yeah. What sort of coat was it? A wool coat, Richard, or like more modern kind of coat? And that'd be good if you can make a load of shields and things out of table parts. Yeah, that's good if you got that for 45 quid. Yeah, very good. And if you were following the last stream, you'll have seen that I ordered one of these. It's on strobe mode, I don't want it in strobe mode. UV torch. Reason I got this is, as I said before, when I was trying to demonstrate the one yesterday and it just packed up, is you can charge the UV glowing bits on watches really quickly with them. But again, with the light on there, it's probably not going to show very well. It's very evident to my own eye, but don't know if that's going to show up on camera. I think you can just about see that. It's very visible to the human eye though. Not really with a deactivated LMG, just because they'd cost a lot and I need more space for it. Well, in the UK, the government wouldn't issue gas masks because they thought about doing it before and they said it cost too much to do. So everybody could die, basically. That was their response. I don't know, I quite like this helmet, but it's not a military one. But it's quite practical for using for a lot of things. In terms of military helmets, probably like Pascot style ones. Right, is this at a drinkable temperature yet? Not quite. Give it another 5-10 minutes and it'll be drinkable. I've got 2 body armour vests. I've got one, the combined police stab and bulletproof or bullet resistant vest, the Kevlar level 2 one, and the old British Army Northern Ireland flak jacket, which is the ballistic nylon sort of anti-shrapnel vest. So I've got 2 vests. I also got a Kevlar panel with a stab proof layer in front I use for the like test videos where I'll test it against crossbow bolts and stuff like that, but that's not an entire jacket, it's just one of the panels. Right, I can tell you that actually if I add it all up quickly. I think that the M1 carbine was 450, the Lee Enfield I think was about 400, the FAL was somewhere between 300 and 400, I can't remember exactly how much, the PPSH is about 200, I think the RPK was about 200, so 200, 400, 800, let's just say 1,100, about 1.5 grand I think. Probably. I think in a shit hits the fan event it would always be down to ammo availability, especially if it was something like, you know, 22 long rifle versus lots of other things. M16 definitely, because the M14 had lots of problems. Well, they've been used in the past, so I don't see why they wouldn't be used again, especially if it's between powers that had them and other powers that didn't have them. Or did they think it was terrorist material or something, Peach? No, you don't need any sort of license for deactivated guns. Well, if you actually read into the M14, it had loads of reliability issues. The M16 only had reliability issues when they first issued it with the incorrect ammunition. Yeah, the GP5 does have asbestos in the filter. I don't really drink energy drinks. I prefer coffee. I mean, Red Bull's one I've actually had quite a few times, but I don't regularly drink energy drinks, so I couldn't really tell you on all the different types. 7.62 by 39mm isn't a brilliant caliber. It's only got about 300 yards effective range, and then it falls very, you know, suddenly with the trajectory. It's why the AK-74 replaced it in service. At some point I may get some sort of medieval, like, replica helmet, I don't know. Because I always wear weird things in my streams. It made you ask the question, didn't it? Yeah, I'm sort of interested in the Sally, but only if I can get them with the bottom armour piece, and then if I get one with the bottom armour piece, I'd need like the breastplate to go with it and everything, wouldn't I? So I'll probably get like one of the Crusader style Greathounds. Yeah, funnily enough, I just said that just as your comment came in. Now, I've got real historical weapons. I've said before I wouldn't buy World War One stuff because of how much they cost and the risk that I would damage them. I've got an MCU-2P if you see my videos on it, if you search my channel. So I've obviously heard of it because I've got one. Polish FP5 filters fit the GP5 and don't contain asbestos, so I'd say that really. I think I've got a bit of that lining from the helmet on my eyebrow now. There we go. What do you mean the most famous gun? That's probably an AK-47, well actually an AKM, but most people would say AK-47. I don't actually know because I've never really shot one, Peach, but I know it did have a different mechanism than some of the other bolt action rifles. Well, yeah, because the CM3 has an oral nasal cup in it. If I'm remembering. Sorry. Oh, you mean the Czech CM3 versus the Polish MC1? I don't think there's any real difference at all. Oh, that's kind of my problem, Snowman, where I just don't have enough room for anything anymore. Maybe the German World War One masks. Was it like the GM17 or whichever one it was that could put a filter directly onto the mask? But at the same time, that was made, I think, using a slower to produce method than something like the corrected box respirators or English box respirators. So it's kind of a hard one to answer. I like the MP5, but a lot of people don't. I think it depends if you can get one in pretty much as new condition. If you can, then yes. If it's in slightly old damaged condition, then no. You can get SS Lito on eBay for about £30. Yeah, for £30 or £40, whatever it is for those katanas, they are very good. It's like the one I've got in the background there. It depends. If the room's not really hot, it's not uncomfortable at all. If you're in a really hot room, it's very uncomfortable. What do you mean gas masks were stuck to the mask? Oh, filters. Not on the later model ones. They had like a bayonet kind of screw thing on them. I've already done a video on my PC and I haven't got the new PC yet, so what's the point? Yeah, it's evening in the UK though, where I'm actually streaming from. Probably a Lee Enfield like the one I've got behind me, or a Vickers gun. Which M1 mask do you mean? Because there's lots of masks that have a designation M1. I know which. By M59, do you mean the Serbian M59? But if you mean the Serbian M1 or the Serbian M59 or Yugoslav M1 and Yugoslav M59, they're the exact same mask of them. So it's the same thing. Anybody asking questions, what do I think of a certain surplus mask, just watch my videos on it. No, I don't have any M16s. I've answered the airsoft question in the Q&A, or FAQ, whatever you want to call it. I'm not sure what you mean by that, Snowman. And how long's that then? Is that a firing one? If you could get a firing one in like the US for that sort of money, then yes. If it's a deactivated one in the UK, then no. No, mine hasn't melted at all, but I keep mine in the cupboard that's not near sunlight. If it's iodine, it works. It protects you from thyroid cancer. That's all it does. It doesn't protect you full stop from radiation. It just protects you from getting thyroid cancer from radiation exposure. Which mask is from 1977 is torn? I would really not know, Snowman. It depends if it meets what the law's design is of two-tone, because if it's not, you can get done on a firearms offence. Depends what filter it is, Elias. If it's a GP5 filter, no. If it's a safe filter and it's not leaking, then yes, potentially. It's neither a SWAT mask or helmet, it's a police riot helmet. Doesn't offer any ballistic protection. The M10 isn't a very good mask. Try maybe searching P100 filters, Steve, because P3 is the name they're given in the EU and Britain, but in America they might be called P100 filters. It depends completely on the mask, Anja. Some masks are better, some are worse. It depends on how good the design is. In general, they get better over time, but not all of them. Chernobyl happened in the 80s, not 1962. Well, I'd say my personal favourite mask is the Avon CT12. Yep, correct, that's a foul. It's now an A1 SLR, but that's just a British inch pattern foul. Yeah, I like both the Israeli M15 and the civilian 4A1. I think they're both good masks. I've not got any plans on visiting Bosnia anytime soon, no. One of them was called, I think, the M69. I think the other one was the M76. But without looking them up, I might have got those numbers wrong. No, the law isn't. It's actually to not. The law isn't that they can't sell it you. It's that the law covers them if you do something stupid with it. So by you having a UCARA, it basically means that I'm trying to think of the wording of it. It's basically like it kind of gives the seller a bit of an insurance policy that you're probably not going to do something stupid with it. That's all it is. But however, if you've got a two-tone gun and you paint it black or whatever, you've created a riff, which then is illegal as far as I understand it. There's lots and lots of dodgy bits and like inconsistencies with that law, so I'm not going to try and advise you on it. Don't do anything stupid is all I'm going to say. Yeah, GOST filters fit on NATO masks, but NATO filters don't fit on GOST masks, at least without putting new O-rings on. £200 for a PPS 34 sounds fine. But it'd be 43, wouldn't it? Not 34. I like either Cornish clotted cream, ice cream peach, or like the mint sort of chocolate one. You could own stuff without a UCARA. The point is it protects sellers selling it to you. I've done the thing, if you look on my upcoming videos, you'll see when the sparring video is. It might even be the one tomorrow. Well, surprisingly I've got a helmet on at the moment, so I'm obviously finding them slightly interesting. But I mostly just collect gas masks because of the price difference. Yeah, the wording is very dodgy, Peach, so I don't actually know. I've heard different things from different people, but personally I wouldn't like to start, you know, speculating on what you can and can't do. Especially when the wording of the law is very, you know, strange. I assume you haven't seen lots of my videos then, Panda? Yeah, let's not talk any more about that, Snowman. I'll remove that comment. Don't mention that again, because if you're talking about stuff that's potentially illegal, I don't want it in the chat. Probably the Soviet PBF, even though the filters apparently contain asbestos. I think around £30 for the SHMS. A lot of British laws, sadly, now are essentially done in that way. If they want to get you on something, they can get you on it because of how vague the law is, which is very bad from a legal standpoint, or a liberty standpoint. Favourite firearms, that one? Yeah, I'm in the UK. Which sword in the background? There's more than one. There's 3 in the background. It depends what sort of group it is, but there's a lot of guilt by association kind of rules in the UK. Well, the arming sword, that was maybe from the Night Shop or Medieval Weapons. It's a Hanway one, if that helps. I think they call it early medieval sword is the technical name for it, but it's actually an arming sword in terms of design, in like blade length and balance and everything. Just get a surplus mask that's of good quality, because you're going to need to buy filters as well. And if you're spending like $300 on the mask, you're not going to have much set aside for filters. I've done a review on a DuPont Tai-Chem suit. I've got 2 Brody helmets, yeah. No, I don't have an Adrian helmet. Right, the CT12 is definitely my favourite mask. Then, probably the Forshida F2A4, if we're all about masks I've actually got in my collection. Then, that's harder ranking the third one. I don't want to say S10, I'll say SHMS for the third one. The S6 mask, it's worth getting one if it's in good condition. Around 100 maxim. Yeah, because the filter's actually the bit that filters stuff. So as long as the mask's not got holes in it, the mask is going to work. However, with a filter, if you've got a filter that's, you know, long expired or whatever, it's going to give you no protection really. They're a different generation of mask. I think I've done a video covering all the differences, but basically the CT12 and FM12 are the generation after the S10, so there's design differences in them. I have no idea if there's Repro Brodies. I imagine there would be. Well, you need to really buy a filter that's in date and sealed properly. That's the main thing. Because if it's not sealed properly, even if it's in date, it's got no guarantee it's going to work. Similarly, even if it's sealed properly and it's out of date, there's no guarantee it's going to work. Filters generally last longer than the expiry date, but you can't ever know when it's going to stop working efficiently. If you're buying a civilian-style industrial filter, you're going to need an ABEC RD40 filter. That means it covers you against most chemical groups. It'd be technically an ABEC-P filter because it also blocks particulates. I've got a rusty old Stahlhelm from World War II without a liner in it. I've also got a Swiss Stahlhelm from World War II without a liner in it, funnily enough. What, the GP5? Yeah, that's a helmet style mask. They've got advantages and disadvantages compared to masks with straps. The disadvantage is you can never get them as comfortable. You can get these on eBay. When I bought this one it was about £30, but I had a look on eBay earlier when I was doing the stream, and a lot of them are between £20 and £25 now. Personally, I prefer straps to a hood, but it depends on the mask, really. Some designs work better in certain ways, but all my favourite masks are strap masks. You're not going to get cheap filters, as I said. If they're in date, decent filters, they're not going to be cheap. That's the problem. As far as I'm aware, nobody makes modern helmet style masks. There are a couple of Russian ones that are still in production. But that's about it. Most nations don't use them. Yeah, sadly with my deactivated AK I can't really take it apart and put it back together. Simply because where they welded certain bits, if you take bits apart often, it's really hard to get it back together. Because obviously it doesn't fit back together as it should do from bits being welded. I've got a German GM38 military mask, and I've got a German Volksmask 37, and I think it's the Volksmask 40 off the top of my head, the civilian ones. There's only about 3 in existence, Aaron, so unless you want to pay several $1,000s for it, maybe dozens of thousands of dollars for one, you're not getting one. I don't have one. Most collectors don't have them. I think there's 1 in a museum and 2 in private collections, that's about it. Well, all DACs are glorified paperweights. It's just you can do even less with the new ones than you could with the old ones. I can't remember if the US M9 respirator came out during World War II or if it was just after World War II. If the M9 came out during World War II, that would be the best mask of World War II. Then I'd say Finnish M39 civilian mask. Then probably the British Light Anti-Gas Respirator Mark II. I think if you lost it, you might have a bit of legal trouble, but you don't have to have a deactivation certificate as far as I'm aware. AK-74 because it's in a better calibre. Inorganic vapours, things like chlorine. Lots of industrial gases are inorganic vapour. I keep all my when I get the guns, I photocopy the deactivation certificates and I keep all of the deactivation certificates in the safe. Yeah, if you've got a World War II mask, don't breathe through the filter because like almost all of them have asbestos and other nasty shit in them. I don't approve of anybody destroying old valuable respirators. If it's something like a GP5, I couldn't care less, you know, just because they're common as dirt. But when it's actually, you know, World War II era, not rare masks, but you know, antiques, I don't like the idea of people ripping them apart. I mean, it's a free market, so they can if they want, but I still think they're destroying a piece of history doing that. Yeah, with mine, Peach, I'm pretty sure the trigger's welded. The underfolder moves. You can take the magazine out. The fire selector still moves. You can obviously move all the sights and everything. But the part of the recoil spring has been welded in. So that's the problem with mine, is if you start taking parts out, lots of the bits you can't put back together properly because you can't compress the spring, you know, so you have to force bits in, which I don't really like doing. Let's not start asking about illegal stuff, please, Uranite. Well, personally, I'm pretty well prepared for anything like that, cheeky breaky, but I'd rather not talk about the B word on here too much. Did you buy it then, Jonah? Because you should have done if you saw it cheap at a flea market. The problem with the 7.62 AK is it's not 7.62 NATO, it's 7.62 by 39mm, which means that the trajectory isn't very good. Basically, when you get past 300 yards, it drops really fast. You can find charts that show you like the trajectory of most military caliber rounds. The 5.45 the AK-74 uses is a lot more like 5.56 NATO, where the trajectory kind of just falls off evenly for quite a long time. So it means it's easier for a shooter to hit a target further away, because the trajectory is what you'd expect. It also doesn't help that AK sights aren't properly set out for the trajectories you're going to use the rifle at. The AK sight basically evenly adjusts for every 100 meters you set it on the sight. Whereas if you look at a lot of proper rifles, I know the AK is a proper rifle, but I'm sure you know what I'm getting at. The sights, you know, the trajectory on the rear sight, when you set it to further ranges, the sight will move further, because like the difference between like 100 and 200 yards is a lot smaller than the difference between like 300 and 400 yards, for example, because you're going to get more drop off. But the AK sight evenly keeps going out for whatever distance you set it to, so the actual sight itself is inaccurate. I cut some boxes. I did a video of the katana. I think the initial video I did with that katana, I cut some stuff with it. I've been watching a load more historical documentaries recently, because I've been watching a load of true crime documentaries fairly recently. But then also on YouTube there's lots of good documentaries about things like the plagues and things like that. So they're quite fascinating to watch. Right, good night. Yeah, they keep saying that, and then they keep saying they need battle rifles back because they're getting shot at from outside of 200 meters. So I don't think you can ever rule out distances of engagement. The SHMS by a mile, because it's a military mask designed for use with optics, where the GP5 is a mass-produced civilian respirator. No, I don't have any like hazmat suits that are the air like ones where you use with an air tank. Maybe the early Japanese Arasakas, it's hard to say. Probably some of the Japanese World War II guns, I'd assume. But as I said, I've not shot all of them, so I can't honestly say that. Already said my favourite rifle a couple of times in this stream. It's the L1A1 SLR that's behind you. Due to it being very cheap to produce, Peach. That's why they had all the problems with the L85s in the first place. Because they wanted to get something that was so cheap to produce. You know, it didn't cost them barely anything, so it was... The design was given to whoever would come up with the cheapest design, not the best design. And then they were paying, you know, like the cheapest factory to do a production run on it, which is why the L85A1 was such a bad rifle. And that's why they had to then hire HK to, you know, redesign it for the A2 and fix nearly all the problems. But yeah, it's generally what happens when you know, go for the lowest contractor on all those things. It never ends up well. Yeah, but the L85A1 was very bad. It was an atrocious rifle, the A1. The A2 is where they fixed most of the problems. But again, it's still a bullpup, so you're going to have ergonomic problems. I have no idea what you're on about with opening GP4 filters, but don't do that. Don't open old asbestos filters. If you're worried, Gladiator, go get your lungs checked out by a doctor. They can take x-rays to see if there's clouding in your lungs or anything, but I'm sure you'll be fine. Probably the T-72, just because of how mass producible it was, if you mean out of any period of history. If you ask me World War II, probably the Sherman. Yeah, we were talking briefly a bit about Unit 731 on the last stream I did, because we were talking about war criminals and getting away with it because of research they'd done. Yeah, I really like Forgotten Weapons. I only watch some of his videos though, because I only tend to watch videos on Forgotten Weapons about certain, you know, rifles or whatever I'm interested in. I won't watch all his guns, because obviously the problem is when you're in somewhere like the UK, a lot of the information's useless because you're never going to get to shoot the guns. So I only like watching videos on the more famous historical rifles, or like the really weird guns. I like those titanium Russian helmets, but I don't actually know what they're called, because there's quite a few different variants, but I don't have any. You can legally hunt with guns in the UK if you've got a firearms license. Oh, that silenced little pistol in World War II is pretty cool. I used to do judo when I was a lot younger, but I've not done it in ages. So I wouldn't be any good at it. If you get exposed to asbestos, it damages your health over a long period of time. Asbestos isn't something that, like, you know, you breathe it in once and then you instantly become ill from it. The people who had asbestosis and other asbestos-related illnesses and diseases were people who used to work with it, you know, like in their job, like in factories or shipyards and things like that. So if you've exposed yourself to it briefly, you're probably fine, but don't on purposely expose yourself to it. No. The helmets I've got, the British ones, I've got the British Mark either 3 or 4 helmets, depending on which ones you want to call them. I know it's the liner that makes it different. I don't have a British Mark 5 helmet because they're pretty rare. It's basically just a Mark 3-4 but with a much better liner on the inside. I've got the green Mark 6 helmet, the ballistic nylon one, that's no good if you actually needed to use it for anything. I've got a British Mark 7 helmet, and I've got a British Mark 1 riot helmet and a Mark 3 riot helmet, but I don't have any military style riot helmets. These are just like the generic police issue ones that are made by private companies the police buy. He certainly hasn't made fun of things like Snowman, the ones where what's it, Khyber Pass guns. He talks about how well made they are for what they are. But I'm not going to get into the debate on homemade firearms on one of my streams. I'm definitely doing more than an hour, Mike. There's 41 people on at the moment, which is pretty good. I've got Band of Brothers on Blu-ray, mate, in the metal tin. So yeah, I'm going on longer than an hour, so I'll definitely be on longer than 9 o'clock. Whether or not I make it all the way to 10 o'clock, I don't know. I've still got half my coffee left in here, so that's pretty good. Probably the computer fan, Comrade Sven. Oh, weirdly enough, we were talking about the plague like 5-10 minutes ago when I was talking about documentaries. I said I watched them yesterday on the plague. I watched one on the Black Death, you know, the earlier one, then I watched one on the Great Plague, you know, the one with the plague doctors, isn't it? Yep, don't forget to like the stream, thank you Mike, and if you're interested, if you look below, there's merchandise. If you wanted a gas mask on a mug or something. Weirdly, Ralphie, if you look below, you'd find out. As far as I'm aware, airbows are perfectly legal, without a license or anything like that, but it's because the price of them is pretty expensive, not many people have them. I like certain things about the UK, Ian, certain things I don't like. As for the question somebody asked about, would I recommend moving here, it depends where you're moving from, I guess. It's better than some countries, but it's certainly not as good as others. Funnily enough, I've recommended Jeff Wayne's World of Worlds quite a few times on here when people ask me what sort of music I like, and then I say prog rock. I quite like some of the Soviet BMP series, especially for when they were made. Yeah, BMP3s are very good, the Russians currently use, but I think most of the Soviet BMP series is very good, especially because, you know, they are amphibious and they came out a long time before a lot of the NATO countries were even thinking about using IFVs, even if they weren't, you know, the safest things to be in for as a crew member. I don't have a PMK2, so I can't give you an opinion on it. Something about Portuguese, I don't know. Are you asking me can I speak Portuguese? I certainly can't speak Portuguese if that's what you're asking. Some of Pink Floyd stuff I like, not all of it. The M1911 is a classic pistol, but sadly you can't own one in the UK. I prefer the Browning high power though out of the old sort of Browning designed pistols. Yeah, in the UK, if you get an AK chambered in 22 long rifle or any other semi-automatic gun chambered in 22, it's actually legal to own. But it has to be rechambered, but at that point you might as well buy a Ruger 1022. There's no point really getting an AK in 22 long rifle in the UK at least. Probably Castle Bravo, Johnny. Just because that's one of the most interesting ones, and you can actually see the crater on Google Earth. If you go to Bikini Atoll in the Marshall Islands on Google Earth, you can see the Bravo crater. Let's not start insulting people's countries on here, Aaron, because I don't want a shitstorm in the comments where people say, no, my country's better than yours. It depends on the genre. I can't really say a favourite movie off the top of my head. If you ask me a genre, I can probably tell you one of my favourite movies in that genre. Yeah, before Dunblane, you could have pistols, but after that, they pretty much banned them. Same with semi-automatic rifles in the Hungerford massacre, which is a real shame. Because I generally always wear some sort of piece of gear when I'm doing the stream to keep people interested, and I thought today the riot helmet's good, look. Because if I've got a riot helmet on, I can drink coffee. Or if I have a gas mask on, I can't. So that's an advantage a riot helmet has when you're doing the stream. I'm glad you enjoy the videos. It's just like a hobby that I do, really, but, you know, I get enjoyment out of making them, and I'm glad people get enjoyment out of watching them. The Pacific, is you mean like the series like Band of Brothers? Yeah, I've seen that. I've not got that on Blu-ray or DVD. I've got Band of Brothers on Blu-ray, but I have seen the Pacific when it originally came out, yeah. I don't know if I've been to Northumberland or not. I probably have been, but there's lots of places in the UK I've been when I was quite young, and I can't remember if I've been there or not. Yeah, I've been to Yorkshire quite a few times. Leeds, York itself. I can't remember if I've been to Sheffield or not. I probably have. I do know Yes, but I don't know if I've heard Roundabout. I've got some Yes stuff on some best of albums. My favourite science fiction film, maybe Dune actually, even though a lot of people don't like Dune, but I like Dune and Flash Gordon. Both of those I really like, even though most people hate those. Is that just the University of Sheffield, Georgia? Because I don't know if they've got more than one uni, because in Oxford we've got loads of unis, but that's because there's essentially two unis in Oxford. There's Oxford Brookes, which is a normal people's uni, and then there's all the Oxford University sort of college campus type ones, which are all, you know, when people think of Oxford as Oxford University, like Cambridge or Yale or anything like that, like world famous universities, they're the ones they're thinking of. So yeah, it's like what I was saying with Oxford, we have Oxford Brookes, which is the one normal people go to, and then a few very rich people go to the actual other Oxford ones, but I didn't go to uni at all because I didn't feel like getting, you know, loads of money in debt for a qualification I'd probably never be able to make use of. Comedy horror film, probably Della Morte Della More, Cemetery Man. But I like Shaun of the Dead as well. Return of the Living Dead's great as well. Yeah, I like Red Letter Media. I don't watch all their videos. I like the Plinkett reviews probably the most, and Best of the Worst I really like. But I don't always watch Half in the Bag because I don't watch a lot of modern films. I prefer older films. Yeah, I think if you're doing a uni thing you're really passionate about, and you can get a job in afterwards, then the debt might be worth it, because you don't have to start paying the debt back, do you, unless you're earning a certain amount per year. But I do know a lot of people who went to uni doing Mickey Mouse degrees that weren't worth anything, and now they've got all that debt on their head if they ever get a high-paying job, and they still can't get anything other than, you know, like minimum wage jobs. And I always find that funny when I end up doing, you know, a blue-collar job with somebody who's got a much more prestigious university kind of education than I've got. They try and talk down to you and you go, well, you're doing the same fucking job I am, mate, aren't you? I always just find that quite funny. Favourite war film, Where Eagles Dare. If it's an Israeli M15 for £15, get it. They're worth that. This riot helmet's called a Guardian Mark III, I believe. Yeah, out of all my friends, the ones who are doing best now are the ones who did things like plumbing or electrician type things at college. When I say college, I don't mean university, I mean actual college. Because people who got apprenticeships could actually get straight into well-paying jobs, and, you know, they were paid to do their qualification even if it was under minimum wage. Whereas people who went to uni obviously had to pay out money to go to uni. I'm saying I've got nothing against people that go to uni, but I just have a thing against people who are a bit, you know, end up being dickheads about it, trying to sound like they're really smart. Because I was encouraged by teachers to go to uni when I was doing sixth form and that, and I just thought, I've had enough of education, I want to get an actual job. And now I make videos on the internet, so there's that. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. Alright, I don't drink all that much, Johnny. I like bitters when I normally have beer. So quite strong kind of ale. Or like strong, you know, like blonde sort of pale ales, but Braxby or a Breaksby or whatever it's called is pretty good that we get around here. There's Tribute Cornish Pale Ale, that's pretty good. Another pale ale I like is Adnam's Ghost Ship, because that's kind of like a very lime sort of tasting, lime lemon sort of tasting pale ale. I suppose that's because it's got the nautical theme, you know, the UK us being limeys, that makes sense, but... Yeah, the problem we've had in the UK, though, is the, like, requirements and amount of years you have to spend doing medical school type stuff, and, you know, like, qualifications for a lot of the medical stuff, will cost you a lot in the long run. And what's ended up happening is lots of doctors essentially get imported from countries where they make more coming here. So a lot of the time, although as much as the NHS is in crisis trying to have enough doctors, if you've got a UK medical thing, you're going to be essentially out-competed by people who are emigrating from like first, second and third world countries. And I'm not saying that to put those people down, I can completely understand why they do it. But, you know, I've known people who have complained about that before, who've got medical qualifications, that they've spent all that money getting them, and then a hospital's just as likely to hire somebody, you know, essentially import people from other countries to do the job. Tomorrow's Friday. If I stream tomorrow, it will be in the morning UK time, like before 12 o'clock. If I do stream, if not, it won't be later than that, because Weapon Collector does his streams in the evening on Fridays and Saturdays. I won't stream Saturday. I may stream Sunday after work if I've got the energy, but I don't know. Yeah, it's a Dunning-Kruger thing, isn't it, Richard? If you don't know what the Dunning-Kruger effect is, I find it quite fascinating. It's a psychology thing, where the people who are the least qualified tend to think they're the most qualified or the best at something. And it's generally the more you learn about something, the less confident you feel in your knowledge. So the more I learn about gas masks and everything like that, the more I realise I can get things wrong about them. And there's a lot more I don't know than I know. But the people who basically don't know very much are the ones that like to shout the loudest about how they know the most. You know, it's why the worst drivers think they're the best drivers, you know, and things like that. The Dunning-Kruger effect is noted in a lot of areas of, you know, human behaviour. But I've noticed that as well. I've worked with people, thankfully, a lot of them who get fired fairly quickly or lose their jobs from being incompetent, who tell me they're much better at doing the job they're doing than I am, and they can't do shit. And I wouldn't mind if somebody was polite saying, could you teach me how to do this job a bit better? Because that's the attitude I always have when I get a job that, you know, I've not done before. Can somebody who's worked in this job teach me the best ways of doing it? And I'll bow to, you know, the seniority of people above me who know better than me because they've been doing the job for a much longer period of time. But quite often you get somebody who comes into the job, knows nothing about it, and are trying to tell you how to do the job. And that really does annoy me. I've noticed that as well, but also with IT, people who ask for your help fixing something on a computer and then start lecturing you straight away, like, why aren't you doing a certain thing? Well, if you want my help, why aren't you letting me do my thing? If you know the thing yourself, fix it yourself. You know, I don't like it when people start second-guessing me the instant they ask me for help on something. I don't think people in Tesco's wear these helmets, at least not in my area. I'd be quite interested in knowing what sort of post-apocalyptic Tesco you live in, where they dress like this. Actually, I think I might know. Just give me a second. I think I've got the picture on my computer. I'll put it up. I hope I don't get a copyright strike. Oh, good, it is a Tesco. Right, is this the sort of Tesco you're thinking of? Post-apocalyptic one from Fred's? Where if you loot the Tesco's you get shot with an SLR? Is that the sort of Tesco you're thinking of? Because that would be the sort of Tesco I'm thinking of, if they have riot helmets on. Yeah, this is a Police Mark III riot helmet. I've got a Mark I riot helmet that's in some of my videos as well, but the Mark III has a better bit around here. It's got a better impact thing on the inside, and it's got a much stronger visor thing. It's got like a metal band going all the way through it, and then it's reinforced with plastic. And the visor on this one, I'll have to put the... hang on, let me have some more coffee and then I'll show you. I need to put the chin strap on to demonstrate this. The visor on the Mark III is longer, so if you do that, it covers your neck. Whereas the older gen riot helmets don't. They often just come down to your chin, so it means somebody could stab you in the neck or hit you in the neck. Well, these ones are obviously designed to cover a bit more of your neck as well. I like Pascat helmets in terms of military helmets. This is probably my best riot helmet. I've not got Escape from Tarkov, and I have no interest in getting it because they did all the pay-to-win bollocks with it. Yeah, apparently they used to show Freds to kids in school during the Cold War to teach them about why, you know, mutually assured destruction probably wasn't a good thing. I can see that ending well for little children being forced to watch Threads. Now, my favourite rifle I've got, although it's deactivated, is the SLR. I've got the first Insurgency, but I don't have Sandstorm. What makes Sandstorm different from the first one and warrants it you buying Sandstorm if you don't have the first one? Yeah, that's funny, isn't it, Rich? That you can actually do something that proves those people wrong. It depends on the style of riot stuff. The actual standard police stab-proof vests do not cover your neck. At least not the generation I've got. So if you wore a riot helmet with it, you need this kind of thing to protect your neck. Some of the heavy police riot armour does, but I think with the police, quite often, in their cars and things, they have riot helmets in case they need to put them on in an emergency, in case people start throwing bricks or stones at them. But that doesn't mean they've got the full riot gear. So I think the idea is that the helmet gives you good enough protection if you need to put it on in an emergency. But obviously in an ideal world you would be wearing the helmet with the full riot padding as well. Okay, I might get Sandstorm when it's on sale, but I'm not going to rush out and get it. If it's plastic, it's not going to be bulletproof. I mean, polycarbonate, if thick enough, can stop low velocity ammunition, but it needs to be pretty thick. In general, you need something like titanium to stop bullets, and then that's obviously not see-through. I've not actually seen any Cold War reenacting groups near me. There's not many reenacting groups near me at all, actually. Well, bear in mind, stuff like this isn't regular conventional plastic you have on most things. It's polycarbonate, which is a lot stronger than conventional plastic. But yeah, it's not bulletproof. Like I was saying earlier, it's like if somebody shot buckshot at you and something like that. I don't know about buckshot. Birdshot, it would definitely stop. Buckshot, I'm not too sure. It would depend on the distance and the number of the shot. But well, when I bought it, it was 300 and something pounds. I can't remember the exact amount, but some of the sites selling deactivated SLRs are nearly £1,000 now. So they've gone up quite a bit. But again, it depends if it's old spec, new spec, or whatever. When I got that Lee Enfield, it was, I think, £395, so essentially £400. Alright, sorry I missed your comment, let me just scroll up. You're saying about bayonet? M1903 bayonet, let me look it up. Oh, is that the Springfield bayonet? Yeah, these helmets have to be thick, because if these helmets were thin, they wouldn't give your head very good protection from somebody hitting it with a baseball bat or something like that. They flex slightly as well to absorb some more of the impact, and then it's got the soft kind of armour inside. I'm trying to think, it's like an impact foam. It's the same thing that's in motorcycle helmets and cycle helmets, so when your head hits it, your head kind of crumples it rather than it crushing your skull. My favourite knife out of all the ones I've got is the Fairbairn Sykes. This one. I know that's a stupid thing to do, but I'm pretty certain the helmet would stop it. Out of all of my knives that I could legally carry or legally carry with an excuse, this Tangram Amarillo that I bought off Weapon Collector, because it's just a very good little lock knife. It's completely random, Jamie. Sometimes they demonetize ones that are completely innocent, and sometimes I have videos that I think are pushing things a bit and they don't demonetize them. It's gotten better, it's not as bad as it was when they started the adpocalypse, but, it's a bit random. I'm not going to get into political stuff, funnily enough, like it says at the top of the screen up there. Weapon Collector has an evil twin, yeah. Yeah, basically, riot helmets and motorcycle crash helmets are very similar. I mean, I don't know if it would offer all the right kind of head protection, everything like that, like head and neck protection, so obviously bear that in mind. I don't want to advise you to wear something like this on a motorbike, and then it turns out if you crashed in a certain way, your neck would snap or something like that. But fundamentally, riot helmets are built very similar to motorcycle helmets. Both of them generally have like a very hard plastic outer shell with a softer foam inner shell. Both are designed so the helmet breaks if hit in a certain way rather than your head. I mean, motorbike helmets really vary in quality, so it's certainly better than the low-end motorcycle helmets, but I imagine top-end motorcycle helmets are probably better than police-issue stuff. I really don't know. I've got Verdun, which is the prequel one to Tannenberg, isn't it? Are Austro-Hungarian Tannenberg? They should be if they're not. I do weightlifting now and again, but I mostly just do blue-collar jobs, you know, where I actually get exercise from working. I like going on walks and stuff like that, so I'm certainly not unhealthy. I mean, I'm unhealthy in terms of my chronic illnesses I've got, which are obviously incurable, as chronic illnesses would tell you, but I try and stay healthy in myself, if that makes sense. Right, my coffee's almost cold, so I just want to finish that quickly. Dripping coffee down my mouth. Not too late for coffee because I'm doing a stream and I'm not working tomorrow, so it's not like I have to get up really early. I don't think I saw your previous comment, Jake. Yeah, I bought We Shall Not Grow Old, or They Shall Not Grow Old, sorry, on Blu-ray for my granddad for Christmas. Well, it depends how much coffee you put in there, doesn't it? Because with a mug like this, if you don't put loads of coffee powder in, it's just a pretty watery coffee. Oh, I saw your Patreon things, but I didn't actually look at them properly. I saw the email about it when I was at the Blue Cross earlier, and I thought, I'll look at that when I get home, and then I didn't look at it. So let me look at it now. How do I get onto other people's Patreons from my Patreon? Do I click the main Patreon button, I think? No, that shows me my own channel. Why do they make these things so hard to use? Let me just go to patreon.com, and then it just keeps redirecting me to my own channel. Oh, I'll sort out via email later, Mike. Generally, I don't drink coffee after 6 PM, but now and again I will if I'm doing something and I want the energy. The thing is, I think I'm so tolerant to caffeine at this point that a coffee isn't really going to make much difference in terms of when I fall asleep and everything. I've already answered that question several times in this stream, Alfie, so I'm not going to keep repeating it. There'll be more merch appearing, but yeah. Just buy it whenever you feel like buying it, if you want to buy it. Out of the British riot helmets, probably, unless there's one that's come along so far that's newer than this one. Each one had a design improvement over the last one, basically. I'll quickly go over it again. The Mark II helmet, as far as I'm aware, had a more reinforced kind of visor than the Mark I. The Mark III reinforced that visor again, and I think they made the visor longer on the Mark III, or it might have been made longer on the Mark II. The insides changed at one point as well, but basically if you look at a Mark I, Mark II and Mark III, you can see the design gets better each time. But the Mark I helmet's still not bad either, it still gives you very good head protection. It's just there's like a couple of nicer features on this one. Yeah, interesting enough, they know from skeletons, Richard, about, like, historically about longbowmen, because they essentially, longbowmen became deformed over time because of the draw weights of their bows. What's that? What's D&D, Dungeons and Dragons? No, if that's D&D. The M50's alright, but I'd say the C50 is better because it's 40mm. The problem with masks like the M50 is unless you can get a lot of the filters, it's useless. I like prog rock quite a lot on soundtracks. No, I don't play Fortnite. Well, the US military's gone with a lot of things that aren't necessarily brilliant. The reason they wanted a design like the M50 is, in theory, it offers better protection because the filter ports close up like as soon as you take the filter off. But the problem is, because it's not 40mm NATO, it means it's much harder to get the filters for, and it creates logistics problems. I've not even heard of that game, so no, I've not got that game. Oh, I nearly pulled that strap totally out then. Just get that back to the right adjustment length. I just basically need it as tight as it goes. Well, personally, if you have asthma like me, I generally have to use my blue inhaler the most if it gets set off by something like dust. So if you're wearing a filter, as long as the filter isn't leaking, it's going to probably prevent you having an asthma attack, because it makes the air very dry and, you know, there's like no dust or any crap in it. But, so I'd say, yeah, a mask would probably help if you have asthma and you go into like a polluted area. Yeah, I'll check out your poll later on, Mike, and read it properly. I'm in the Oxford sort of area, but I wouldn't particularly want to go out of my way, and I work at weekends, so I'm probably not sort of up for doing a lot of reenacting, to be honest. That's the reason I don't do airsoft when that keeps getting asked, is because nearly all the sites, there's only one site that's actually close to me, and that's not that close, and then they always do airsoft games on a Sunday, and I work weekends, so... Well, I work at weekends because you can get more jobs offering weekend work. Is it because you've got a filter that leaks? I'd be careful have, because if you have a leaking filter, that could be doing that. I don't know if you necessarily get less oxygen, you get more restricted airflow, so you have to breathe harder to get the same amount of air in. So it's like essentially being at higher altitude. If you've got a question, ask it. Don't keep saying I've got a question. It's not a movie, is it? It's a TV series, the HBO one. I'll watch that when it's out. What do you mean by what do I work with? Well, what my job is I do a kitchen porter job, which is like clearing stuff up and cleaning. Mostly using sodium hydroxide, funnily enough, to clean stuff. No, I've got no interest in Marvel movies. I've obviously seen Saving Private Ryan, yeah. The PMG, yeah. PMG-1, not the PMG-2. Because the PMG-1 is a flat, optical style lens. The PMG-2 isn't. And what did you say to the police, have? There's something I'd say to them, but I don't know if it's a good thing to say to them, because they might arrest you for hurt feelings if you said to them what, I can try that at some point, but so far every mask I've exposed to sodium hydroxide has actually survived fairly well. The Hind is my favourite helicopter, the Mi-24 or Mi-24. A GP5's worth getting if you haven't got a GP5. They're common as dirt, but they're a cool looking mask. What do you mean, can I poke my wall? It's perfectly legal. It doesn't mean the police and people won't get upset about it, but it's perfectly legal. It's the only time you might actually have more serious problems with it, is if you, for example, went into somewhere like a bank with a gas mask on. Then I could imagine there being problems, but I mean, I wouldn't advise randomly just wearing one and wandering around the streets, because it would look very weird, but there's technically nothing illegal about it. The PMG-1 works with scopes, the PMG-2 doesn't, to answer your question again. I mean, yeah, you might, if a policeman asks you to take it off, you might have to take it off, but, yeah, there's, as far as I'm aware, there's no law saying, you know, you can't wear one. You could just say you're wearing it because of air pollution. Like, where I am, lots of cyclists wear half face masks because of, you know, like, fumes from the cars. As in Croc shoes, no. I have, like, practical shoes and boots that I don't wear things like Crocs. I'm not sure exactly what you mean by that, Winter Gaming Fox, but if you mean can you look down the sights with a PMG-1 on, yes you can. It's okay, it doesn't have an oral nasal cup in it, so it will fog up very quickly. For a World War II era mask it's very good. Compared to modern masks, no, it's not very good. It might still work if you get one in good condition, but it's not good in terms of, like, compared to things like S10s, FM12s, Fashidas, M40s, it's not good compared to those. The thing is, though, if I'm not trying to sound like a dickhead, right, comrade? But if there was a school shooter, he wouldn't really care if he covers his face or not, would he? Because he's already going to go and kill people. And that's the sort of thing I don't understand about these rules. Is if you're intent on killing people, you're not going to follow other rules anyway. As your name's Tchaikovsky, or however it's pronounced, I assume you mean the Romanian M74. I don't have one, but I know it's a copy of the German M65. So it's probably alright, because the German M65 is a good mask, but I don't actually have one. No, I don't have any SAS gear. I've got common British Army gear, but it's not SAS gear. Well, any mask is fine as long as you can see out of it properly. Yeah, basically, if you go on eBay or anywhere like that, lots of regular military equipment has the Special Forces terms put into it, because people don't know the difference. But yeah, most of the stuff they use is just general military issue stuff anyway. Sometimes they have, like, slightly better equipment, but generally, you generally see, like, DPM 95 is called SAS camo or whatever else, even though, you know. I've got a tank helmet that my MM1 gas mask is on, an East German tank helmet. I think I paid about £20 for it. That was just when I was actually in a physical surplus store. It was on a mannequin, and I said to the bloke, would he be willing to sell it? And he goes, oh yeah, if you give me 20 quid for it. So I gave him 20 quid for it. You can get them on eBay, but if you're gonna get an old Warsaw Pact surplus helmet, I'd recommend probably going with the ones that don't have the fake leather design like the East German ones, because they tend to, like, crumble and fall apart. It's probably best just to get the fabric ones. Yeah, there was 50 on at one point, Rich. That's fairly good. I think generally when I'm doing the streams later in the evening, more people watch. But that's probably because I think 40% of my subscribers are from the US. So if and I get a decent amount from Canada as well as obviously quite a few from the UK. So when I do it like evening UK times, it means UK people are probably in, and it means US people are probably awake. No, I don't have a helicopter helmet. Don't know what my favourite type of candy is. I don't really eat candy because I'm an adult. I mean, I eat chocolate bars, quite a lot, but my favourite chocolate bars are probably Yorkies. But It depends what the gloves are made out of. I think it depends where they've been operating, because they probably just use the best camo for the environment they're in. Yeah, Mike, you might want to be watching the chat now you're back. Don't give him attention. Cheers, Mike. If you can do that, it means I can concentrate on the actual messages. Tell you what I'll do as well. That will help. I'll put slow mode on. Right, if you've got any legitimate questions, please feel free to ask them. I'll be streaming probably for another 40 minutes if I feel up to it. I've already said something about that, Alfie, so don't repeat it. I just find it funny, to be honest. There's not any helmets on the wall. There's a Lee Enfield at the top, an SLR, there's a katana, an arming sword, a flail, and a saber. There's also a medieval crossbow there. I've got one Mora knife. I don't know if it's in this room. No, I think I've got it in another room at the moment. Mora knives are very good for the price, though. I've got one with a blue handle. I can't remember what it's called. There's a few different variants of Moras, aren't they? But they are very good. If you want a cheap knife, Mora are brilliant. A halberd or a billhook, I reckon, have. Non-fiction or fiction, Comrade Sven. Butterfly knives are illegal in the UK, but not the trainer variants. Yeah, I think the reason I got the blue Mora was it was just the cheapest one I could get. I've already answered your question, Winter Gaming Fox, so I'd appreciate it if you didn't keep asking the same question over and over. It depends if you've got a legal reason to have them SCP-2384 and what sort of guns you're on about. No, machetes are perfectly legal. Cheers, I've not got full riot gear. At some point I ought to try and find a load more riot gear, because I wouldn't mind getting like all the elbow pads and everything as well, because that might make some funny videos. I think it would look good if you actually, you know, if I got full riot gear with a gas mask and a helmet on, and then did some videos of the sword or something, it'd be quite funny, I reckon. There isn't like a hunting license as far as I'm aware. I mean, I'm not, because I don't go hunting, I'm not completely aware of all the rules, because I know some species you can only hunt with certain permissions and whatever else, and others you are on like pest control lists, so you can shoot them with anything that's legal to shoot animals with. But you need the license to get the Lee Enfield and the ammo in the first place. Right, currently, the upload schedule for regular videos is the same it's been for months, like since last August, whenever it is. Winter Gaming Box, I don't accept fan mail, so no, you can't send me stuff. So, what was I getting at, sorry, before I got distracted by another question? Oh, my upload schedule, that's what I was on about, wasn't it? Thank you. Yeah, Wednesday, Friday and Sunday is the days all my videos go live. At the moment I've got a load set to premieres just so people can see what videos are coming up ahead of time, so I didn't people don't keep saying which day is this particular video coming out, you said you filmed, that kind of thing. And hopefully more people might notice they're coming live. Streams, I always try and stream on a Tuesday and Thursday at the moment, but that's not always practical, you know. Some days there might be days I just can't do a stream on a certain day for whatever reason, you know. So I'd say Tuesday and Thursday is the day I stream most of the time, but not always. And then I try and stream other days during the week if I get time to. But again, it depends if I get time to, what I'm doing on the day and stuff like that. But Wednesday, Friday and Sunday are when the proper videos come out. MG42 is a very cool machine gun. Don't know what you want me to say about it, really. Well, I just get whatever riot gear's cheap because, you know, different surplus riot gear turns up at different times. Even I think the UK police don't use one set of riot gear. They, you know, buy certain things at certain times. Well, probably not, because I get a lot of people. I've got like 55,000 subscribers or something. So unless you're somebody that comments every day, if you've changed your name, I'm not going to remember, to be honest. Which rifle? The SLR magazine comes out. The Enfield magazine comes out. No, Vladimir, because the price of getting a PO box in the UK is several £100s a year, so I'd have to be getting sent loads of stuff to justify the cost of it. And in the UK, because of our stupid laws, if somebody sent me something illegal, I could be arrested for it. So I'm just not going to give people a PO box or any sort of address to send anything to. Yeah, this is comfy. Well, it's a deactivated rifle, so no, it doesn't work. Yeah, I've heard in some places you can get a PO box like $20 to $30 kind of price a year. In the UK, it's several £100s. A 12 foot-pound air rifle would be absolutely fine for shooting mice or rats. I'd recommend using hollow point pellets or something, you know, that's as humane as possible if you hit them, as in it kills them quickly. But I think even an air pistol technically is good enough if it's a 6 foot-pound one to kill like rodents. But I'd recommend an air rifle just because I think if you're shooting something, it should be as humane as possible. You know, it shouldn't suffer; it should just be hit and that's it. Yeah, no problem. I'm going to actually have a look on eBay right now and see how... I'm not going to buy any tonight, but I want to see just out of interest if there is riot armour currently on eBay. I saw at one point you could buy like surplus French police riot armour. Oh, that's still available. So what does this vest include? Is it just the vest by the look of it? I think this is just the vest. This is quite sci-fi looking. It's a bit like an exoskeleton, where it's like a vest and it's got like the plates where they kind of overlap each other. Does it say what size it is? Because I bet it's not in my size. I think I'm going to buy this, to be honest. This French riot armour looks cool. Yeah, why not? It looks quite sci-fi and it might be good for getting merch. How long does it take to arrive? I should get it by next week. Yeah, sure, I'm going to buy it. Why not? And that's definitely going to come out of my bank account. Yeah, confirm and pay. Hopefully it'll fit me. If not, it'll be a cool collectible to put on a mannequin or something. But it does look cool. Yeah, you can buy APCs, but I couldn't afford to. What was that, sorry? I missed the thing, Peach. I know you said... do you mean the picture of the riot helmet? Not the riot helmet, the riot armour. Yeah, I'll send Mike a picture, hang on. Let me get it up again. I don't know if I can link directly to the listing very easily, but let's see if I can get the picture up. Right, I'll send this picture to you on Twitter, Mike, if it works. There you go, Mike. Show that to Peach if the image works for you. As far as I'm aware, the UK police don't use Dodge Chargers, no. I might be wrong, but I don't think they really use American cars over here. Unless I can't help not look down sometimes if I'm looking at certain things in the chat, but we can try and do that. Did you see the thing, Mike? It's not. Oh, it says, yeah, it's gone blue now, so I assume you've seen it. Right, I'll go for at least another 10 minutes on this stream, but I don't know if I'll go for much longer. Yeah, good point, Peach. But now you've told people that, haven't you? I better remove your comment quickly. I have no idea what you're on about, Alt. Alright, cool. I better check that later on though in 1080p full screen just to make sure, but yeah, that is a good point. I didn't even think about that at the time, but that is a good point. I don't even know who that is, cheeky breeky. Well, I get a lot of police helicopters where I am, but that's because I live near an airfield and police use that airfield to put their helicopters up and down. Yeah, I don't know if it's got any stab-proof protection. I'll have to have a look into that when I get it, but it will certainly be good in terms of looking cool with the arm pieces. And I can probably, I assume, just wear it with a stab-proof vest anyway. World War One armour's quite cool as well, like the World War One sniper armour's cool as well, you know, like those face masks they have with a tiny eye slit in them to use with a scope. That's cool, Vladimir. I do like old military vehicles, but as I said before in these streams, I'd have no... What, when I get the armour, you mean? So it looks like I've got massive, muscles. Should make that my dating profile picture, shouldn't I? what you see is not what you get. The only World War I tank I really know of very much is the British Mother tanks, whatever they were called, the really big ones. Yeah, if you mean Bovington Tank Museum, yeah, I've been there. I can see this comment you've just made, I can't see another comment. I think I've heard of that, but I wouldn't really know without looking at Elias, but I'm assuming it's where they had like a fake model tree for snipers to sit behind. My M1 carbine's probably the most expensive piece of gear I've got, but you can't see that at the moment because it's on the opposite wall. Oh dear, Peach. You're being naughty now, aren't you? I don't know too much about the American Civil War submarines. I know that they had them there, and that's kind of crazy that they had submarines back in 1860, sort of odd. But I don't know how well they worked. Yeah, I've got a World War II German helmet, but it's rusted and missing its liner. Oh, that's cool, so they're actually in the trunk, so it was like a model tree, but with a hollow trunk for the sniper sitting. That's actually quite cool. It's a DIAC, as I've said quite a few times during the stream. It's an inert rifle, basically. Hello to Mr. Romanian there, Danubius, if I'm pronouncing your name right. Swords. The saber, the rapier, the arming sword, the falchion, the katana. I think that's all my swords. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think 5 swords. That's ignoring like sword machete kind of hybrid things. I'm not sure quite what you mean, have. I like the old BTR 152s, that's like an armoured car, / sort of APC. Humber pigs are also quite cool. I like a lot of the Soviet firearms. I don't like the Soviet Union itself, but I like a lot of the Soviet military equipment. It's pretty complicated. There's different laws on shotguns and rifles. You have to have a viable reason for having it. You can't discharge it in certain areas. I think they should be more lax than they currently are, but I don't think it would work if we had laws like America has. I said that in a recent video. Depends which German military equipment you're on about. I like some of it. No, I've not played World of Tanks. I played War Thunder, but I don't play it anymore. Right, I'm going to go on the stream for a couple more minutes and then I'm going to finish. So if anybody's got any important questions, ask away, and then I'll quickly try and answer them. So you've got 1 or 2 minutes to ask your questions, and then I will finish the stream. About £395, I think, if I remember right. Just because of the numbers produced. Things like the GP5 Tech Storm were made in over 100 million. Things like S10s and that were probably made in batches of 100,000 at most. Yeah, we should definitely be allowed things like pepper spray, I reckon, Peach. No, I've never worn a ghillie suit. I've got a lot of camo gear, but I've not got a ghillie suit. Alright, see ya, Aaron. They're real, but deactivated. As in, like, tank room and equipment? No, I don't have any grenades in it or otherwise. I like tank helmets and stuff like that. I think they look pretty cool, but otherwise I don't know too much about tank equipment. No, I'm pretty good at the moment, thanks, Vladimir. So yeah, the camera might make me look a bit brighter as well, but I'm alright at the moment, thanks. Yeah, I've made a video about books. If you search on my channel, you'll find it. Right, that'll do it for questions. If I see anything just as I'm wrapping up, I might try and quickly answer it, but otherwise, thank you for watching, everybody. I hope you've enjoyed the stream. And yeah, see you maybe Sunday, maybe tomorrow, potentially, depending on if I get a chance to do one. But if I do one tomorrow, it will be in the morning, UK time. So if you're in America, you probably won't see it. Yep. If you're interested in merch, look below. If not, I might do a stream Sunday, but I still don't know. Depends, you know, when I finish work, if I'm tired or not, or how tired I am. But I'll definitely be doing a stream Monday, I imagine, at some point during the day. So, see everybody. Goodbye.